They thought it was just a supply ship. They were wrong. This is the story of how a U.S. Navy logistics vessel became the trigger for one of the most precise retaliation strikes in modern military history. Stay till the end, and you'll understand why no one touches a U.S. Navy ship and walks away. July 9, 2025. In the narrow corridor of the Strait of Hormuz, where 1/3 of the world's oil moves through waters constantly shadowed by state actors and rogue elements, 18 high-speed smuggler boats launched a precision raid on a vessel they believe to be unarmed and alone. The ship in question, the USNS McAllister, was a Ghost-class logistics vessel operating under a masked civilian registry, transporting a high-value payload in support of Carrier Strike Group 17, which was conducting quiet operations deep in the Arabian Sea. Though rarely seen on front lines, vessels like the McAllister form the logistical backbone that enables every sortie, every launch, and every extended deployment the U.S. Navy executes across the region. No escort, no visible defense systems, no active radar signature. To the attackers, it appeared to be an opportunistic prize. Slow, soft, and strategic, they approached from two axes. 12 boats advanced from the north, using the natural radar shadow of coastal terrain, while 6 looped in from the western channel under cover of jamming interference, deployed by drone assets launched prior to the assault. Each vessel carried no fewer than 6 armed men, equipped with RPGs, belt-fed machine guns, and thermal optics, with hull modifications for low-profile wave penetration. At approximately 3:47 a.m., the first wave made contact. Explosive charges disabled external comms, while grappling hooks and extendable ladders gave them access to the lower cargo deck. By the time the second wave breached midships, over 50 assailants had boarded the vessel. The 10-man U.S. Navy security detachment aboard the McAllister, armed with sidearms, 2 M4 carbines, and a single mounted M240B, engaged immediately from within hardened cover points near the container stacks. Despite a brief but intense negotiate with ambushes. They retaliate. Fast, hard, final. 4:18 a.m., July 9th, 2025. As the hijacked USNS McAllister drifted within 9 nautical miles of the Iranian coastline, the sky above it shifted. From the east, a line of phantom ray UAVs broke the horizon in complete radio silence. Flying low and fast, they skimmed the sea surface before ascending into coordinated attack formation. The lead drone pinged multiple targets, 4 armed escort boats circling the McAllister in tight combat geometry. Within seconds, targeting data locked. Coordinates confirmed. Then came the first strike. Microbombs fell in sequence. Laser-guided, pinpointed the surface of the Gulf, exploded into fire and steel. All 4 boats were neutralized in just 11 seconds. Simultaneously, 2 F-21 Viper Hawks roared in from altitude. Their payloads, strafing runs along the starboard rail, minigun bursts, shredded sandbag nests, and disabled mounted weapons before pirates could react. Incoming RPGs detonated mid-air, their operators never getting a second chance. Then, like shadows drawn from the ocean itself, 10 MH-92 Black Talon helicopters rose from the west. Flying low, silent, deadly. Ropes dropped. Navy SEALs and Marine Raiders deployed in synchrony. From bow to stern, the McAllister was reclaimed, room by room, deck by deck. survive. By 4:58 a.m., the compound was nothing but scorched earth, charred beams, twisted rebar, crushed concrete. Over 500 pirates were neutralized, dozens more taken alive. For now, it had once been a sanctuary, a fortress, a place they thought untouchable. By 5 a.m., it was a graveyard. This wasn't just a raid, it was doctrine, executed. The United States Navy didn't just strike back, it removed the threat. Swiftly, silently, completely. No nation needs to speak loudly when it can act precisely, and nothing speaks louder than a battlefield, left silent. This wasn't just a recovery mission, it was a strategic reset. In a maritime corridor watched by rivals and contested by proxy actors, the US Navy didn't just rescue a ship. It demonstrated what happens when you threaten the logistics chain of a superpower. The USNS McAllister, a vessel often overlooked in times of peace, proved to be the keystone of an entire carrier strike group's combat capability. When it came under siege, America didn't respond with words or warnings. It responded with doctrine, coordination, and overwhelming force. The enemy believed they had exploited a blind spot. They saw a ship without escort. They saw delay, weakness. They saw an opportunity.